You know that old saying, this is why we can't have nice things?
Mm-hmm.
It usually applies to, like, a dog chewing up your shoes. But it turns out it also applies to humanity and 27,000-year-old art.
It really does.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate paradox of archaeology, isn't it? If you find something amazing, sharing it is the first step to destroying it.
We're talking about the Grotte de Gargas. It's in the French Pyrenees, and it's one of these incredible sites full of these haunting, ancient hand stencils.
But the second you let modern humans in to see them, we immediately start ruining them just by breathing.
Right. The CO2, the humidity, the body heat, it all destabilizes the cave's environment. The art starts to fade.
So to save the art, you have to hide it. But if you hide it, what's the point?
Exactly. And that brings us to this deep dive. We're looking at a fascinating paper from 2006 by Rampnew, Alvarez, and Jessel.
Ah, yes. Une grotte numérique conviviale.
A convivial digital cave. They were basically tasked with solving this exact paradox for the cave's centenary.
Their job was to build a digital installation that could, give you the magic of the cave without actually damaging the real thing.
And reading this, I mean, it's not just about archaeology. It feels like a brutal case study in user experience design.
Oh, completely.
It shows how easy it is to make a piece of tech that's cool or fun, but completely fails to teach anybody anything.
That is the core takeaway. They tested 3 different setups on everyone from 7-year-olds to 90-year-olds, and the results they fly in the face of what you'd expect.
Okay, so before we get to the actual devices, we need to set the ground rules the researchers were using. Their goal wasn't just like a digital textbook.
No, they wanted something they called conviviality.
Which in English usually just means, a friendly dinner party. Is that what they mean here?
Not quite. In this context, it's more.
Mm-hmm.
It's about creating a social environment that encourages people to talk to each other.
So not a machine lecturing a silent user.
Exactly. They wanted a shared discovery. And to measure that, they used a model that looked at 3 key things. First, utility. Did you actually learn something useful about the cave?
Makes sense.
Second, usability. Could you figure out how to work the thing?
And third,
likability. Was it pleasant? Was it fun?
And they threw in one more concept, which I think is just crucial for anyone in design, affordance.
Right. This is from Donald Norman. It's the idea that an object's shape tells you how to use it. A handle affords pulling, a button affords pushing.
The object itself is the instruction manual.
And as we're about to see, the affordance of the furniture around the tech turned out to be way more important than the software.
Okay, let's get into it. Device number 1. This was the big, flashy, high-tech solution.
The multi-touch table. For 2006, this was like science fiction, a big, flat, interactive surface.
And the activity was focused on the engravings in the cave, not the handprints.
Yes, specifically a bison engraving. These things are really hard to see in the actual cave. They're just faint scratches on top of other scratches.
So the goal was to make them pop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Users would take a stylus, or just their finger, and trace the outline of the bison that was projected on the table. Like a high-tech connect the dots.
I mean, on paper, this sounds perfect. It's interactive. It's tactile.
The likability scores were huge, off the charts. It became a spectacle people would gather around just to watch. It was intuitive. It felt magical. But when it came to utility, the learning part, it was a complete and utter disaster.
This is the part that I found so wild. Visitors would trace the bison perfectly on the screen. But then, 5 minutes later, they'd go into the real cave, the guide shines a light on the wall, and nothing. They couldn't see the bison at all.
They were blind to it.
How is that even possible? They just drew the thing.
It's a cognitive load issue.
The
researchers realized that by giving people a stylus, they shifted the entire focus from observation to motor skills. The user isn't thinking, look at the shape of that hump, the curve, like they're thinking, keep my hand steady, stay inside the lines.
So the game part completely took over the education part.
It cannibalized it. The affordance of the stylus suggests drawing, performance. You're focused on your hand, not the art.
Wow. That's a tough lesson. Just because it's engaging doesn't mean it's working.
It was spectacular, but it was empty.
Okay, so device 1 is a fun party trick, but educational junk. So for device 2, they swing the pendulum completely the other way.
All the way to the other side, the scientific setup.
Which was, what? Just a normal computer.
Pretty much. A standard 19-inch monitor, a mouse, a keyboard, and this is really important, a chair.
The full cubicle experience.
Very much. The software here was called the Hands Work Site. You'd see a big photo of the wall with all the hand stencils, and you'd use the mouse to click on them.
And I'm guessing the results were the total opposite of the table.
The complete inverse. The utility was high. People who use this actually learned the patterns. They could spot the different hands in the real cave later.
What?
But the likability and the conviviality just plummeted.
Because it felt like doing your taxes.
It felt like work. And it looked like work. The researchers said this setup triggered instrumental behavior. You sit down at a desk with a keyboard, and you are sending a signal to everyone around you. I am busy, do not disturb.
It puts you in a bubble.
It encapsulated the user. That's the word they used. There was no social interaction. It killed the vibe completely.
I've seen this a million times in museums. The parent gets impatient because the kid isn't doing it right, so they just grab the mouse and take over.
And the furniture encourages that. One chair, one keyboard, one screen. It affords isolation.
So we have the table, fun but useless, and the PC, useful but boring and isolating. Which brings us to device number 3, the Goldilocks solution.
This is where the genius of the study really comes out.
What did they change?
Here's the twist. They didn't change the software at all.
Wait, really?
Device 3 ran the exact same Hans worksite program as the boring PC, the identical clicking game.
So what was different?
The physical frame. They took away the chair, they took away the keyboard, they put a big screen up in the air, kind of floating, and put a standing height table in front of it with just a mouse on it.
That's it. They just made people stand up.
That's it. And suddenly, it worked. The conviviality scores shot right back up to match the high utility scores.
Why? I mean, that sounds like magic. If the code is the same, how does standing up change how you learn?
It changes the social contract of the space. First, the big screen makes it a spectacle again. People can watch from a distance.
Okay.
But the key was removing the chair. When you're standing, you're not claiming territory. You're not settling in for a long session.
It encourages what they called social fluidity.
Right. I can lean over your shoulder and say, hey, try clicking that red one over there. A kid can hold the mouse while a parent points at the screen. It becomes a shared space.
It shifts the affordance from private workstation to public exhibit.
Nailed it. And, crucially, by keeping the mouse, they avoided the stylus trap.
Okay, let's dig into that, because it seems weird. A stylus feels more natural for art. Why was a clunky old mouse better?
That's the trap of so-called natural interfaces, a stylus. It draws attention to itself. You're aware of holding it.
Right, you're managing the tool.
Exactly. A mouse, especially by then, is what the researcher Ben Schneiderman calls a transparent tool. We don't even think about it.
Your brain just maps the hand movement to the cursor on the screen.
You look at the screen, not your hand. The tool vanishes, and you get what they call direct manipulation of the content.
That's a huge distinction. The stylus made people think about drawing. The mouse let them think about the cave.
And that's why device 3 was the winner. It had the transparent tool for focus and the open standing posture for social sharing.
It's just amazing that taking away a chair can totally rewire how a brain processes information.
It shows that usability isn't just about the code on the screen. It's about the entire physical context. The researchers said a good exhibit has to balance the didactic, the learning, with the ludic, the play.
And device 3 did that by turning learning into a kind of shared performance.
Yes, and it worked. When those visitors walked into the real cave, they weren't just seeing blobs of paint. They were recognizing patterns they'd just talked about with their family.
The digital experience had sensitized them.
It gave them the eyes to see what was already there. It served the physical experience instead of trying to replace it.
This whole thing makes me think about the big push for VR and AR in museums now.
It's a valid concern.
You put on a headset, and you are completely encapsulated. You might as well be at home on your couch.
It's arguably the anti-museum experience. The whole point of a museum is to be in a shared space with other people looking at things together.
And you can't point at something and say, hey, look at that, to your friend if they're in a totally different digital world.
Right. This Gargas study suggests that maybe we're over-engineering things. We chase the shiny interface, the touch table, the headset, but maybe the answer is simpler.
A humble mouse and no chairs.
It forces you to ask, what is the actual goal here? Is it to show off our cool tech, or is it to connect people to the history?
Are they looking at the cave, or are they just looking at your touchscreen? It's a question a lot of designers should probably be asking themselves.
It's so easy to fall into that trap. We assume better tech means, a faster processor or a higher res screen. But here, the lower tech mouse actually beat the higher tech stylus.
Because the high tech was too distracting, it stole the show.
It did.
So if you're designing anything, really, a museum exhibit, an office, a classroom, don't just think about the software.
Look at the furniture.
Are you asking people to sit or to stand? Because that one choice sends a huge signal. Sitting implies a long, private task. It claims territory.
Whereas standing is temporary. It's open. It signals, I'm just playing around here, which invites other people to approach and join in.
And that's crucial for learning, because so much learning is social.
It is. If your design shuts down that social channel, you're losing a huge amount of potential.
So the secret to the convivial cave wasn't better code. It was just understanding people.
And taking away the chair.
I think that's a great way to put it. I'll leave you with this thought to chew on. We talk a lot about how technology connects us, but maybe the posture we adopt while using that tech matters more. So next time you're hunched over your phone, ask yourself what that posture's affordance is telling the people around you. Is it saying, come look at this with me, or is it saying, go away?
It's usually saying, go away.
It usually is, but maybe, as this study shows, if we all just stood up a little more often, it wouldn't have to be. Thanks for diving in.
My pleasure.